Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sports Card Madness. This is LZ. I am here with Nick, and today we have the Card Father on the show today. We have Rob Veras, owner of Burbank Sports Cards in Southern California, and also owner of Burbank Card Show as well. And we have one of these coming up, and we'll get into that. But there's a show coming up soon for Rob. But Rob, welcome to the show. We're very happy to have you on today.
Welcome, Rob.
Very happy to be here with you. I'm psyched, especially some Boston guys. So I
All
could
Yes.
never turn
right.
down that opportunity.
Rob, we talked offline a little bit, but I was really excited to talk to you because you're an OG in the hobby. Like you've been, in this multi-generational shop for a long time. And I just want to go back to the beginning and get inside your head as an entrepreneur and understand what were you thinking at the time, in terms of opening a card shop when you did.
Yeah, I didn't open a card shop when I did. I actually started working at a coin and stamp shop when I did, and it was April of 1979. I was 12 years old, and I was in the coin and stamp shop all the time. That was my main thing was coins and stamps. Cards was more of a summer pursuit, like so many others.
Mhm.
And the owner asked me if I wanted to deliver flyers. And that's my origin story in the business. It was 1 cent for a car, 2 cents for a house. I'd bring home like 1,000 flyers, fold them, and find the biggest parking lots and the biggest apartment complexes. And that was my origin story. That was the beginning. And then he had me come behind the counter, buck and a half an hour under the counter, cash,
Love
uh,
it.
which was real money. I mean, back then you got an allowance of two, three, $5 maybe. So now all of a sudden you're getting $20 bills at the end of the week, and it was amazing. But really, it was just the education in business, the education in dealing with adults, and dealing with things that have perceived values to people, things that I could never have learned in school.
Hmm.
That's great. That's great. Well, can we get into the business a little bit? So let's fast forward.
Sure.
I think hopefully all the listeners. I mean, you definitely have one of the, if not the most popular, sports card shops in the world. I believe so. Um, I'd love to get into the business a little bit.
Sure.
For those that are on YouTube, you can see that Rob is probably sitting in a back room. There are lots of cards you can tell behind him. Um, and I know that you do a very good business, and I'm just curious, like, how many cards are you actually like selling per year? Like, what sort of transactions are we talking about?
I was giving that some thought. We've sold, I think, 6.7 million cards on eBay and about 7.5 million on our Beckett Marketplace site. So we've sold over 14 million cards online.
Whoa.
Um, and that number, of course, continues to grow. Yeah, we've been a great resource for the collector for decades. And going back, when we were talking about the origin story with the coin and stamp shop, the owner asked me back in 1989, early, he was going to sell the business. His health wasn't great and gave me first shot at it. And
Mm.
got together with my parents, thought it through, would be dropping out of college, which my mom was thrilled about, but decided that it was a game plan, that it was good. And so April 1st, not joking, 1989, took over the business. And
Wow.
it was 35 years, April 1st, that I've owned the business, 45
Wow.
years that I've been in the collectibles industry. No breaks, didn't take, not lapsed, but literally everyday grinding.
How many highs and lows have you lived through? Like almost like recessions, like when the market's tanking with cards. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm just
sure.
curious since
I mean, you're
89.
talking like 87, 88, 89, just
Hmm.
things absolutely booming. 92, things starting to settle back down. 94, 95, baseball strike. 98, 99, basketball strike.
Mm.
2008, obviously, economic collapse. 2013, 14, business wasn't all that great. Some poor rookie crops, things of that nature. And then, of course, 2020 to present have been, batshit crazy for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's certainly highs and lows. But I'm pride myself on the fact that we've never let an employee go. based on those lows. Obviously, for other reasons, they've been let go. But we're proud of the fact that whether it's a high or a low, that we're still going strong. And for a lot of businesses in low times, a lot of times those are the best times. If you can take advantage of market conditions, be able to buy more things than you would normally be able to buy at those levels, and kind of play the long game.
Yeah.
What a cool analysis there. I always have my business hat on and I think about economic recessions and business recessions. You just mentioned 3 or 4 card events, essentially, like baseball strike, basketball strike, and you talk about it from that perspective, which is so cool to have that like macro view over 35 years. It's wild.
Yeah, I've seen things.
You've seen some stuff.
Other than taking advantage of these recessions and finding opportunities, what do you think is some of your secret sauce and how you've been able to survive?
I think we'll go back to 2008 real quick.
Mm.
Horrible. 2007, August 28th, my mother passed away. And I was at the funeral. I come back to the shop. This is kind of a cool, quick story. And I found out that Kathy Ching had called. And her father, Lawrence, was my best customer, a lot of companies' best customers in the business, and that he passed away. And so we talked, and I said I wanted to come to the funeral. And she's like, "You have a lot going on." I'm like, "You don't understand." He was like an uncle to me, and my business wouldn't be what it was without him. So I go out there, and she's like, "You'll have to come back and see what we have here." And so I come back, it's 2008, and I'm looking at everything. It's 7 storage containers, climate controlled, floor to ceiling, and half of a 4,000-foot house. The man was a one-man economy. And I'm sitting there, made an offer just to let them know what it was worth. Not even an offer, it was so much money. And they came back to me and they're like, "Would you like to buy it at that price?" So figured things out. We're talking hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, which at the time was stupid money, and made plans to go out there and get it. I brought George, who's still with me to this day. I'm sitting there picking it all up, and the world went to hell while I was there with the financial meltdown. And I'm sitting there thinking, could I have picked a worse time to do this than right at that moment? And it ended up, I call it the Hawaii deal. It took 3 40-foot storage containers on a ship to get it back. And the main reason I took George was to keep an eye on the movers and then be able to take a single duffel bag with him where the tobacco could go, the 33 Goudies, I mean, all the crazy stuff that was in there, so that we could physically bring it back and not worry about a storage container slipping into the ocean. It cost 30 grand just to get the deal back.
Just in
Whoa.
shipping fees. This
From
almost sounds
Hawaii
made
to
up, Rob.
Burbank.
This doesn't even sound
It does.
real.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
If that
This
deal
sounds
hit the
like
market today, it'd be a $10 million deal. Because literally, he was the king of credentials and rubies and all the crazy 90s stuff. He was the king. And we sold all that stuff. And back in the day, we were selling it for triple book on eBay. And people would bitch and moan, but they bought it.
Yeah.
And we really reset the market way back then. And of course, the market's been reset numerous times since. But man, I wish I had that one back.
Just think about, it's almost like the coaching origin in football, right? The origin, like, I bet you could trace like so many collections back to that shipping container or those multiple shipping containers from Hawaii. That's wild.
Oh, definitely. Those are grails in people's collections. And you think, is there another one out there? What hasn't been found yet? And that's the thrill. You see stuff that goes into Jason at Heritage, and he's on IG just showing off these crazy cards, and you're seeing golden. But I'm more interested in what bulk deal is out there that literally would take a storage container to get back, and have our processing team hit that and get that stuff into the marketplace. So I get excited more about those kind of deals than that single Jordan patch auto to 23. Those are neat and everything, but give me a storage container that hasn't been seen or heard from in 20 years. That would excite me a lot more. Even if there's a lot of late 90s, early 90s, 80s junk, that's okay, because that there'll be other stuff in there.
Yeah.
Rob,
Still fun.
how often does a deal like that come across your table where you are presented with a storage container, like a big, massive haul? How often?
It was a lot more often up
Oh,
until maybe 5 years ago. We
okay.
would see things of that nature. Really, it's been quiet on that front.
Mm.
Since COVID, actually, we haven't really seen that big, bulky, vintage, modern wax kind of intertwined deal. Um, Tons of individual deals that are amazing, obviously, with what we buy, but not that one staggering collection.
Do you think it's because people are educated enough to hold on to it, or is there another factor on why things have slowed in that area since COVID?
I don't. I know people are more educated, but I also know people are lazy.
Mm.
You know that nobody wants to do the work, and I always tell people, you want to maximize what you have, you got to grind it on eBay, and always the answer is I don't want to do that. And
Yeah.
Right.
so, you're
Yeah.
paying us a service to basically sell your cards.
Sure.
Um, but no, there's certainly more eyeballs on the hobby. We're so mainstream now that people do a lot of research and a lot of bad research at that because they just don't know any better. They don't know a PSA 10 from a raw card,
Mm.
etc.
Mhm.
eBay is a great tool if you know how to use it. Most people that are kind of new to it or have their dad's collection in their hands don't know how to use it. So we have to educate them as a hobby.
Yeah,
Sure.
those finds. That's honestly why I'm in the hobby, the treasure hunt. That I love it. He was on our show. I connected with somebody randomly on Reddit. He found a widow of it was the Jim Ferner collection, and he had over 4,000 autographs, everything from JFK to the Rat Pack to Janis Joplin. And I was just like, oh man, this is the best thing ever. And when you find something like that, it's so fun. So I don't know.
Mhm.
It's really cool to hear that story. I can almost visualize it. Like if only YouTube was around back then, right?
Oh my God. If
That'd be
if
amazing.
Oh.
I would have the best content for back then, I swear.
Never
We used to
know.
go to the National and buy pallets. That's kind of what we were famous for back in the day, would literally just be buying out tables.
By the
And
by the
just,
pound.
yeah, just coming up and guys got a table and I'd be like, I'll give you 2,800 for the table. And it's dollar boxes, $2 boxes, whatever it happens to be. And they wouldn't even know how to process that offer. They weren't thinking in terms of selling the table. Then invariably they'll come back 3,500. They don't even know what they have. They just figure I set a price and I'd buy it for 2,800 because I just walk and we just keep stacking the boxes and Beckett would ship them back for me and we'd buy pallets. And that's how we
Awesome.
came up with a lot of our inventory.
I've definitely seen a picture of you online with you and maybe one of your partners like standing next to two massive pallets at the National. I've
Yeah.
definitely seen that picture. Yeah, I have. It's wild.
Oh man. So Rob, you've been in this forever. Actually, that origin story, I mean, you were in this before you even bought the shop. You were
Oh, way
working for the
before.
shop. So that's wild to me. This is going to be kind of a trippy question almost. Deep thoughts a little bit. You come off as a very charismatic guy to me. I like watching you speak and you're very fun, to watch and learn things from. Pretend we have an alternate universe. It's like Marvel, right? What is something else that you think you would have been good at? Or like if things turned a different direction, you could have done.
That's a great question. I went to junior college for 2 years, majored in volleyball. Really didn't care because I kind of knew what I wanted to do from a really young age. So
Mm.
yeah, I dropped out of JC at 20. I have no other real marketable skills because I didn't really go to school to learn anything. I've been doing this, since I was a child. I'd like to think that I could work in sales. I think I'm kind of a people person. I think I could do that. My dad was a general contractor, had a business called Sandval Engineering, and it was his hope that I would take over his business someday. And I just never had an interest in doing that. I just real tunnel vision. I play drums. I would have loved to, been the, drummer for, any great band and, but never had those chops
That's
either. I,
awesome.
I really don't know what I would be good at, to be
I
honest.
think I think you would be fantastic at sales.
Yes.
Sally's always like, "What would you do if the business died tomorrow?" And I'm
Go sell
like,
something.
"Yeah, I'd go sell something." Well,
Oh
I'd
yeah.
go to I'd go to the manufacturers, but you know what? If I'm out of business, they're all out of business too. So
Hmm.
That's a good point. Yeah, that it's funny you say that. You are almost like the Dow Jones of the sports card world in a way, because you have such a presence on eBay and within your store and within your inventory that, if somebody wants to know where the action is, they just call you. You're going to know like that. So it's a great point.
Speaking of your charisma, one of the hot things right now is breaking.
Yeah.
I don't think you're doing any breaking. I haven't seen any. What are your thoughts on breaking? Have you thought about going that direction maybe in the future? Where are you with that, with breaking in general?
You would think I would have done it by now if I had an interest in doing it. I'm not a big fan of fractionalized gambling with an extra vig thrown on top of it, where your average price per card is 30 to 40% higher than it probably should be, and smoking my customers 85% of the time. Maybe that gives you some insight into my thoughts on breaking. I think it's lazy. I think that the part that people want to portray in the industry and put forward facing is fractionalized gambling. I kind of have a problem with that, because I'm the one on the other side when people are bringing all these baggies of Cleveland Browns and, New York Yankees of just dreck. And I see that. I'm looking for 100% customer satisfaction in everything that we do, whether it's liquidity, whether it's selling, whether it's an experience at the card show. We work really hard for that. And I think breaking is the antithesis. That's the word of the day, of that. I'm not a fan. But if I were to do it, and I've talked to Daniel about this, we would literally do it in the shop. Because why don't people do it in stores? You would think this would be an opportunity to get 30, 60, 90, 120 people over 4 breaks into your shop. You would think this would be the rage with hobby shops. I don't know of hobby shops that even do that. Why? Because they need that digital buffer. They don't want to be the face of disappointment. That's my opinion on it. Otherwise, every shop that broke would do it in their shops, create an event, have pizza, have all that camaraderie, and maybe be able to buy the cards back or sell them supplies. You don't have to ship the cards because they're right in front of you. I don't understand.
You just blew my mind, Rob. Like, you blew my mind. I don't think the audience understands everything I would just want to break down what you said, because it was very, very smart and calculated. So you're basically saying, like, hey, I don't want to run a business where at the end of the day, 85% of my customers are sad because they lost something. And then you also mentioned VIG, which is very big in gambling, but I bet not everybody knows exactly what that is. That's essentially like the rake or the fee, or there's a lot of different ways you can term that, and the vig is very high on breaking. I didn't even think of that. You don't even think of the fees, because you're paying, $300 for the Celtics in a prism break. You're not thinking like what the markup is and all of that. And man, that's fascinating. And it's why you see breakers typically don't have shops, and why you see shop owners typically don't break. Wow.
Well, there's a lot of shop owners that do break, but they don't break within the shops. Exactly. So if I were to do it, because I've always been anti-breaking, because I don't like breaking the way it is set up right now. If I were to do it, and having the square footage that I will have, bringing in someone to break that people really enjoy, 10% over whatever the hobby box is priced up there, and randomizer on the teams. Then I feel everybody's getting value. There is no great big vig. It just basically pays for someone to be behind the counter. I'm not shipping it. You have instant gratification with the cards. You can go over to our buying counter and sell what you have and possibly get more store credit to get into another break. We're playing with the idea right now of how that would work. But if we were to do a break, it would be a live break, not like a live break where we're not together right now. So I think that would be a game changer if we were to do it. I've got someone that would love to be a part of that with us. And again, it's about bringing people into your store. And I think it's just a missed opportunity for a lot of people that break, that could have a store and could do it live in front of people and save themselves a hell of a lot of shipping.
Yeah, it's the Costco rotisserie chicken. You're getting people to get into your store, Rob, right? And then, I mean, you're creating this great experience for them. I love that idea. Because when you first mentioned it, I was thinking, well, maybe like, is the VIG still there? But you're just saying, no, it's just 10% up.
Yeah, he would just mark it up to pay for the employee to run the break, essentially. So your VIG is, just the cost of the, That's
I
really
like that.
cool. I like that. I can
I like
picture
that.
you run the break, and then the people that don't make the break, you have a checklist right here. Like, well, in my warehouse, I've got every one of these cards that you missed out on. So you could grab, and you get 10% off because you were in the break and it didn't work out, or something like that. Very
Yes.
cool. I like that
Hmm.
idea.
It may or may not happen, but I think that it could. It could. I
Okay.
think that we could put that together.
Yeah.
Sure.
Hmm.
So Rob, you have a really big show.
During COVID, there were like no shows in Southern California, but Dallas opened up. And all of a sudden, my customers are spending $800 with airfare and hotels to get their feet on the floor in Dallas. And that money was evaporating from the industry. And I'm like, that makes no sense. So as things started opening up, I had a customer, Jay, who's my partner now. He runs the Premiere Show, which is there's two or three different ones in Southern Cal, smaller shows. And I'm like, let's work together to bring something up to the Burbank area. I'd love to do that. And I was thinking Moose Lodge, I was thinking Elks Lodge, I was thinking small, because I'm like, I have no idea how this would work. And then he's like, Rob, it's going to be much bigger than that. And so we got the Marriott Convention Center in Burbank, the biggest space within, 10 miles of it, basically. And I was scared. It was expensive. I didn't want to fail. My brand is on this. And the line just kept wrapping and wrapping, and the place was full. And Fire Marshal Bill was all over us. And we kept getting a bigger boat. We went to Ontario. We went to Anaheim and went back to Ontario and got the whole convention center. Now we're going back to Anaheim, and it's a huge space. And it's just the Burbank experience that we try to have here. We try to bring it to scale for everyone. And the location, I think, is the best in the industry. And we call it a cardcation because when you go to Cleveland, you're going by yourself. Your wife isn't interested. Your kids aren't interested because there's really nothing else to do right there. So it's a solitary pursuit. And when we have Anaheim, it's more of a family vacation / card show, which I think really brings a lot of success to it. So I'm not a genius, but I do believe that Southern California is the best market in the country. So putting a show in Southern California really makes sense. And the national might not ever be here. So we're just going to grow something on our part of the country where people don't have to fly everywhere.
Great.
That money evaporate.
Yeah, I liked how you were an open book when you were kind of kicking this thing off. You were talking about everything from the union fees. And I remember you saying, you know what, forget it, guys. Let me just, what's your number? What's your number so I don't have any trouble? And you paid the number. And it was really cool getting into like how the sausage was made. So how do you feel about the economics of the card show versus the card shop? Is it something you're going to continue doing and continue building?
Yeah. Jay, who's my partner, literally does all the work. We always joke about it. He's a savant with this stuff. I wouldn't train him for anybody in the space. Always thinking, what's next? I'm the brand. I'm the face. I'm the one with the excitement and all of that. But we got bigger plans for it. We're gonna make maybe 2 announcements in the next month that are total game changers. Actually, we already made an announcement with the Steph Curry thing that we've done, where we were able to have Canvas marketing. Basically, is one of Steph's family members. They create cards of Steph Curry, and we were able to partner with them. We created some cool designs. Tag got involved with the slabbing, and Steph actually autographed 30 of the cards, with the rest being serial numbered. They'll basically act as lanyards. These tag slabs will act as lanyards for VIPs. And Steph loved the designs. Every single card for VIP will have a QR code that takes you right back to the signing. Every card that's autographed has a fingerprint of Steph's on it. And we feel it's one of the coolest promotions ever at the show level, where you'll be able to sit there and open a foil pack for a VIP and be able to get a Steph Curry card that's serial numbered, with a handful that are also personalized. Pretty damn cool. And that was Jay's brainchild, and we were stoked that Steph was on board with it. And we were in a hotel room with him in Vegas. He's signing the cards. We're filming. It was wild.
Oh, that's
wild.
cool.
So
That's cool. Everybody who's listening, go to burbankcardshow.com. And if you scroll, not even, I would say 1/4 of the way down, you will see those pictures of those Steph Curry cards. And they're awesome. They're in the tag slab. There's like
So
four of
cool.
them. Nick, flash them on the screen.
You got
Very
it.
cool. Love it. Love it. Rob, we didn't ask you the details of the show because it's coming up very, very soon. So
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is, tell us, when is it?
Okay, so it's going to be August 22nd to 25th. August 22nd is VIP night. That's a premium event. Those tickets, you will be able to get the Steph Curry slab pack that you'll be able to open up. Friday, Saturday, Sundays, general admission. I believe there's about 700 tables. The corporates, we have basically every major corporate there with the exception of the card companies. We're not ready for that yet. We might be ready in August of 2025 with one of our announcements that's coming out.
Okay.
PSA will be doing courier service back and forth to the facility. Beckett's grading on site.
Nice.
All the big auction houses will be there. A lot of liquidity on the floor. Burbank, I mean, LA money just hits different, I think, than all the other parts in the country, especially since we're such a hop and a skip from the Pacific Rim, where we know that there's, so many high-end collectors there that maybe they don't want to fly into LA, wait, then fly 4 or 5 hours, into the country to go to a show. So we get a lot of the high rollers from the Far East, and as well as New Zealand, Australia.
I would love to get into your new shop. And I
Mhm.
know that you did recently make an announcement. And Nick and I and the audience would just love to hear. Give us some details on it. Like, and then I'd love to know not only, well, first start with why.
Yeah, right.
Why the new shop?
Yeah.
And then just some details on it would be great.
Well, we have a 7,500-foot warehouse that's a block from here.
Mhm.
And when we were looking for a shop to pair with it, this building came up and it was a block, literally a block away. And with the COVID boom, we needed more space. This made sense at the time. So we moved here. It was a relatively easy move. But just like for a lot of store owners, the store shrinks as time goes by and as your business grows. And so we've been looking for a new building for a while now. And we were looking mainly just a bigger showroom, where this one's about 3,800 to 4,000 feet. We were looking for something around 8,000 feet. And tough to find in Burbank a building that size on a major boulevard that has parking. And so our realtor told us that the Rite Aid pharmacy had gone out of business a little while ago. And I knew that, but in my mind, there's just no way in hell I'm moving into, a 14,300 square foot building. I'm like, that's way too much money. And we started doing the math. We started working with our broker. We started talking to the owner, and we were able to make it where it wasn't as ridiculous as I thought it would cost, relatively speaking. And we toured the building. It's got 72 parking spots. It's across from a bakery called Porto's, which, if you're familiar with this area, it is the highest traffic eatery in the city, and it's probably not even close. And it's
Wow.
right across the street. We'll have digital kiosks that you'll go to in the shop where you come in and you're looking for Dustin Pedroia cards. I'm not going to have a Dustin Pedroia section in my store. I'm not going to have any Dustin Pedroia cards in my showcases, more than likely, but you'll be able to come in, put his name in the box, probably find 300 or 400 different Dustin Pedroia cards with images, click on the cards that you want, pay for them, and my team would pull them while you wait. To me, that's as big a game changer as there is in the hobby. We need to have people putting their hands on cards, building collections, losing themselves in cards, forgetting their troubles at the door. What are the most popular tables at the National or at any card show? They're the ones with value boxes.
Yes.
Every single
Mhm.
time. Because you can sit down with 20 bucks as your budget, spend an hour, 90 minutes, whatever it happens to be, walk out of there at 20 bucks and feel like you've added some seriously cool stuff to your PC.
That's a long-term focus right there. I love that. We talk around how do you get kids into this industry and get them to stay in this industry? These breaks are too expensive. Kids cannot afford these breaks.
Kids should not be doing.
No.
Would you condone gambling to your 13-year-old kid?
No.
You
No
give
way.
him $20.
Nope.
Okay, I'm going to go on this break, Dad. And what do you have to show for it? And now you're teaching gambling to a child
Yeah.
and teaching them that there's risk in this. To me, it's a horrible message. I would never have my 12 or 13 years old dealing in something like that, because that just leads to other things, in my opinion. Oh, it's easy on my phone. I could do this. I can gamble. I can go to DraftKings. And I think that that's poor habits. I think, you know, we need to look at that. It should almost be something where there needs to be parental approval, and you need to be able to prove that you're 18 or older when you're getting breaks. That's coming. I don't know if that's a thing or not.
It has to be coming.
That's not even a wish. Like there will be one state somewhere that does that.
I hope
and
so.
That's going to set off flags, and then there'll be 10 states, and then there'll be, you know what I mean? There'll be some states that will never do it, you know, like,
but there's also where, what if you don't get anything in a break where you purchase for something that's across lines and you don't actually get something? I think it's against the law. Last I checked that, you know, there's something that I've read about that. I don't know. I just think that breaks should not be the forward facing part of the industry. And I've said that over and over again.
Yeah. Fascinating. And now a kid can take their $20 allowance and they can spend like 4 hours in your shop. Going through those bins, talking to people next to them.
Making friends.
Making friends. Yes.
Sure. And I think that's huge. You come in, you're a Dodger fan. We'll have 3 or 4 boxes of Dodgers going back to the 70s, quarter a card. And, you know, big kids too, 50-somethings. This is something that people have to understand. Not everybody has $100 to blow when they go to the card shop. And, you know, never mind 500 and a G. I know if it was my hobby, I wouldn't always have $100 to go blow at whatever place it happens to be. I want to spend 20 or 40 bucks. And when you buy a blaster that's got 15 cards that generally don't have a whole lot of value, and you spend that 30 or 40 bucks sitting and looking at Mookie Betts cards and buying 40 different Mookie Betts that you just love the designs, then you're going home with something that 5 years from now, you're going to enjoy looking at those cards. 5 years from now, you're just going to sit there and go, I can't believe I was wasting 40 bucks on a blaster of that stuff 5 years ago, because I got nothing to show for it, nothing I'm proud of, nothing that I certainly want to organize in a collection.
Yeah. So, Rob, we have only a couple more questions just so we can, I know you're busy. You're literally in the shop right now. So you are probably the number one person in the world to ask this question, in my opinion. So I'm going to ask it. If I was, you know, I'm in Nebraska, I'm in Louisiana, whatever, I want to start a card shop. What are the first 3 things I should do, or what are the first 3 things I should think about before I take that leap?
First of all, it's got to be a full-time commitment. A lot of people open shops, but they still keep their other jobs, and maybe they have a family member or they do it part-time. You have to really commit to it. And you have to have a niche. If you're just built upon having the latest products, and just having some slabs and doing some breaks, you're generally doing stuff that everybody else does. So I think you need to certainly stand out from that crowd. And I think the most important thing I always tell people is to look at your business from the other side of the counter. Come into your store, and is the store that, as a collector, you'd want to do business with? And so I think you have to start small. I think a lot of people go in too big, too gun-ho, and you have to have capital. If you don't have capital behind you, and then you're just kind of, you know, a mouse on a wheel, just trying to pay the bills. You have to have capital. So let me get back to the 3 things. Okay, you need to have fresh inventory, period. You need to be able to buy consistently over the counter. I'm not talking about the latest Topps release, because you know what? Your competitor down the street is going to have that. You know what? Topps will be selling that on their own site. You know what? That card show that happens every single weekend in your area, they're going to have that stuff too. You need to be able to provide liquidity, be process quickly, and get the stuff out. People will spend 45 minutes to come to your shop. They'll spend an hour in your shop. They'll spend 45 minutes to go home. It's 2.5 hours. If you can't make that worthwhile with fresh inventory, it's not worth someone's time. So you need to be able to have fresh inventory, provide liquidity. You need to be really good on social. You need to build an IG. I'm old school, but I literally had no followers on Instagram in March of 2020. Didn't even have an Instagram account, and literally built that following daily, putting content out there, but more importantly, creating the FOMO of what the fresh inventory is. And it's free. So I would definitely take advantage of that technology and that marketing to show people exactly what you're working on in the shop and what your showcases look like that very day if they've changed from the day before. People want to see what's new. People want to know if it's worth that 2.5 hour investment in their day to come see you. And just being clean, it shouldn't be something I have to mention, but unfortunately I do. You need to be clean, well lit, and organized. Again, put yourself on from the customer side of the view. What are they looking at? Is it stacks of boxes over there? Is there no organization in the showcases? Are you saying no to buying their cards? If it's a negative interaction, they're not going to come back. Be able to say yes. I think that's the final thing. Be able to say yes to as many inquiries as humanly possible. That's what separates you from your competition. Do you buy cards? Yes. What's new? Let me take you over to the section of the boxes where all the newest products are displayed so you know what that is. Do you have this person's card? Well, if I did, it would be over here. Don't make the customers do your work. Don't say, I might have some in that box, because you know what? It's not the customer's job to do that. It's your job to have it organized. And try to have a web presence. What blows me away with a lot of these shops is they don't really have websites with singles on them. This used to be 101 for card shop owners, but this latest wave of COVID shops, they don't have them. They might have informational ones. They certainly have IG, TikTok, and YouTube, but go to one of these new shops on your website, can I buy singles? And they'll look at you like you have 3 heads. And I'm like, what do you do with all these singles that you bring in? How do you sell them? When someone comes in your shop, why aren't all those cards accessible to them, whether virtually or physically? Where do those cards go? So I find these shops and I look for their websites, and maybe they've got product, maybe they have information, maybe they have links to their YouTube, but why don't they have singles?
Right.
You know, I don't get that, because
they're not thinking that way. You know, we grew up, me and LZ, still in the analog era of the 80s. We're kids in the 80s. And we know what it was like before the internet, and we know the value of websites, the internet 1.0. You're older than us, obviously, and you went through that internet 1.0 phase, and you understand the importance of a website and how it expands your reach beyond your geography. Now you can ship to places. So brilliant advice, and just basic stuff there. You know, clean shop, positive attitude, up-to-date stuff. What differentiates you? These are just good basic business questions.
All right. Well, hey, Rob, we want to be cognizant of your time. It's been a great conversation. We always end it with just giving the guests the chance. Like, people want to reach out to you, your store, your website. We got the show coming up, like your IG. What's the best way? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, follow us definitely at Burbank Cards on Instagram. That's our main channel. We do have something on YouTube. Again, I've hired a director of marketing. We actually have a sizzle reel out. We have an agent. It's our goal at some point to be on a streaming series. I think that we tell a unique story. We've got 3 generations in the store. We feel that we've got a story to tell, and we feel that in LA, we have a cast of characters of people that come through here that we're hoping that we could certainly do that. And the BurbankCardShow.com, that will give you all the updates that's going on there. So
I'll drop a ton of these links as well, just so it's easy for the audience to click. I'll link the show. I'll link your shop, Instagram, all of that.
We'll talk soon, guys. Thanks for the opportunity.
All right, great.
You got it.
Thanks, Rob. Bye, everybody.
CardFather out.